In the previous video, I outlined 5 key steps of risk management. In this video, we'll look at how these steps apply in real business, using a recent incident that brought parts of the country to a standstill. From the 20th to the 22nd of September 2024, while some residents were enjoying building snowmen for the first time, hundreds of vehicles were trapped, covered in heavy snow, especially in KZN near the Free State border. What seemed like an unending weekend finally came to an end as videos of moving vehicles started circulating on social media on the 23rd, and the country breathed a sigh of relief. These unprecedented weather conditions have introduced a new risk to South African residents and businesses: extreme snowfall. As a continuation of our study on risk management, I will use this event, focusing on logistics companies, to elaborate on the 5 points raised in the previous video, which was an introduction to risk management. You can also use these examples to add originality to your essays. To remind you, in simple terms, risk management is about figuring out what could go wrong, assessing how bad it could be, and then taking the steps to prevent or reduce the expected harm. With that in mind, let's explain risk management using the example of the snowstorm to illustrate each point. The points that I shared previously were taken from notes provided by the Limpopo Department of Education. I will use the same notes, adding examples to them now, and we will take it one point at a time. According to our notes, risk management is a process that involves the following steps. Number 1, identifies possible risk by finding risk-bearing activities within the organization. This means that the process begins by closely examining the business to identify areas of risk. It's like a detective searching for signs of what could go wrong. For example, during the September snowstorm, logistics companies that heeded the weather warnings would have identified the forecasted conditions as a risk and based their decisions on that. From their analysis, they would have identified risks such as supply chain disruptions, vehicle damage, and threats to drivers' safety. Recognizing these early would have given them the chance to minimize or even avoid the storm's negative impact. Those who did not heed the warnings would have been forced to analyze the situation in real time as reports of vehicles stuck in the snow began to come in. In their case, identifying vulnerabilities would have still helped them to minimize the negative impact, but it would have been too late to avoid it entirely. Number 2, assists businesses to analyze each possible risk to assess how likely it is that the risk would happen. Once a risk has been identified, part of risk management involves assessing how likely it is to occur. The companies that took the weather warning seriously would have assessed the situation and concluded there was a high likelihood of dangerous driving conditions. The other companies, based on their past experiences with South African weather, may have expected only light snowfall and didn't consider it significant enough to change their plans. Moving forward, all logistics companies operating in this region will need to treat snowstorms as a real possibility. They will need to pay more attention to weather patterns and view weather warnings as strong indicators of potentially dangerous conditions. Number 3, evaluates the potential impact of the risk in terms of financial liability. This is about understanding how much the risk would cost the business financially. Once the likelihood of the storm was assessed, logistics companies would then have had to evaluate the financial impact of the identified risks. They could have asked themselves questions like, if the weather conditions are as dangerous as the warnings suggest, and vehicles are exposed to these risks, how much would that impact the business financially? Or, if the vehicles temporarily avoid that area, how much would that cost the business? For example, using an alternative route might take longer, leading to higher fuel costs and reduced profits. Additionally, taking alternative routes could expose vehicles to other risks, such as poorly maintained roads, which could still damage the vehicles and incur repair costs. Such financial assessments would have helped businesses understand the full extent of the risk. Number 4, controls the risk by studying reports and trends in the environment so that measures can be taken to prevent it from happening. At this stage, The risks have been identified and their financial implications assessed. Now the business must take steps to lower the chances of the risk occurring by analyzing trends and learning from past incidents. In this case, companies that paid attention to the warning would have considered industry trends and their own past experiences related to hazardous weather and applied that knowledge to their strategies. The companies that ignored the warnings and had their trucks stuck on the N3 may have had to study international cases of snowstorms to learn how to navigate them. As the climate becomes increasingly unpredictable, companies will need to monitor weather reports more closely to prepare for the future. Preparation may include upgrading trucks to handle the snow better and training drivers to navigate such conditions. They could also establish backup routes in case a similar event occurs again. Number 5. Handles the risk by deciding what actions to take if the event occurs, utilizing available resources, implementing a contingency or backup plan, and communicating with stakeholders. Finally, risk management is about having a plan in place and responding to the risk when it materializes. If a snowstorm does occur and trucks get stuck, immediate actions would include coordinating with towing or emergency services to assist stranded vehicles, rerouting unaffected ones to avoid further delays, and providing regular updates to drivers and customers. The companies would also need to manage available resources such as fuel and essential supplies to ensure that the stranded drivers remain safe while waiting for assistance. To clarify, the 5 points mentioned are about: Number 1, identifying risks. Number 2, assessing their likelihood. Number 3, analyzing the financial cost of the risks. Number 4, trying to prevent them. Number 5, responding to the risks if they do happen. Here are other issues that can threaten South African businesses and should be included in a risk management strategy. Political disturbances. Unexpected changes in government can create instability and scare away investors. Economic fluctuations. During a recession, people may spend less, leading to reduced sales. Energy supply challenges. Frequent power outages can disturb production and reduce profitability. Social changes. The rise in online shopping is forcing businesses to adapt to this growing trend. As you can see from the examples presented, uncontrolled risk can paralyze businesses. As Theodore Roosevelt wisely said, risk is like fire. If controlled, it will help you. If uncontrolled, it will rise up and destroy you. Can you think of other examples of potential business risks? Please share them in the comments so we can all learn together. For more business basics and business studies resources, visit my website and hit that subscribe button to stay updated on new uploads. Visit www.shop.bstudies.co.za to purchase grade 10 to 12 revision material. I am Ms. Shabalala, and I will see you in the next video, where I will quiz you on general business studies concepts related to the September snowstorm.